Morning, everyone. Morning. Yeah, that's better. Right, welcome to EUC Forum's autumn/winter meeting. I'm not sure which one it is. Probably autumn. Thank you all for coming. Great turnout today. Lovely to see you all in the room. I've got a bit of a cold, so I'm going to hand over to Nigel to do most of the emceeing today. Just want to give you a warm welcome and remind you of the format of the day. So we've got some great sessions. We've got a slightly changed the format. We usually deliver the news, but we decided to hand it over to the horse's mouths, as they say. So we've got the three main EUC vendors talking about what's new on their own products. 15 minutes each as part of the news slot. As always, we've got some great content from community sessions, we've got sponsor sessions, and we've also got all the sponsored booths out there. We're all paying for the day, keeping it free for yourself. So have a great day, make the opportunity of networking, speaking to sponsors, speaking to the vendors, speaking to us if you've got any comments or feedback, and hopefully have a wonderful and educational day. I'll hand over to Nigel.
Good morning. Excellent. Well, welcome to, as Neil says, to the, I call it the winter. It's not autumn anymore, is it? You know, we skipped autumn. It's already winter. So, as I say, Wi-Fi password and is there. So that's the only time you'll see it, I think. So unless it's on the feedback forms or anything. So take a copy of it if you need it. So. This year, the committee there's 8 of us who are part of the steering committee, and you've heard from Neil. I did see Jim is over there, and who else we've got? Lee is down there. James, I haven't seen. No. Neil is somewhere, but I haven't seen him. Where's Neil? On the phone. He's on the phone. So Shabazz is He's on booth duty. Shabazz is in Australia, so Chris can't make it today, and that last one was a very old picture of me, so I'm sure I haven't changed at all, but I think that was 2006 when that was taken, so there you go. I really ought to update that. My photo's completely up to date. Yeah. Very true, actually, yes, that's it. So please follow us. We actually have a really good following on Twitter and LinkedIn, so keep doing and following us on there. You'll see also, please, if you've got anything interesting to say, even if it's a 15-minute session, it doesn't have to be 45 minutes, please submit a session. You know, for next year, we want to see case studies, we want to see customer journeys, anything like that is really, really useful for us. Well, all the content will be on demand. If that QR code puts you to a payment thing and put in credentials, put some money in, because no doubt that's the latest scam. I don't know if you see it in the petrol stations. They're putting stickers over the QR codes with the details of a scam website, and you put your details in there and you have all your money taken away. So I've done the same, I think. So submit your session through that. So feedback forms, on the agendas today, there is one slight change to the agenda in that I'm talking at 9:45, Nathanael actually starts at 10, so, but please put your feedback forms in, they are really, really useful. We've made a lot of changes to the way we're doing this because of the feedback, and we want to make sure that we're doing everything that is relevant to keep people going. You know, it's brilliant, the amount of people here already this morning, and there's still people on planes trying to get here. So really good to have that. Next year, we're already starting to plan. There'll be 3 in-person meetings, 2 in London, 1 in Liverpool. We've got socials. The socials are really good. I don't know if anyone went there's a couple one in London, 1 in Edinburgh this year, and they're yet again another way just to not have to sit around all day. We'll just do them in the evening, and lots of drink and lots of discussions. So they're always worth attending as well. But obviously, we'll send you more information on that. As usual, a packed agenda, and so as Neil said, what we've done this time is instead of us trying to give an update of all of the major EUC vendors, which is all very well, but why don't we get the actual people involved, the people who work for these companies, to do the updates? So I'm going to do one or two updates on some of them, and then we have the vendors here. So quick run through on this. We've got what's new in Citrix, Windows 365 AVD, and VMware, and Nerdio. Then we've got a really interesting one on the asset disposal and recycling, which is going to be interesting as well. We then get into facing the challenges of air-gap systems. I know probably a few of you work in highly secure areas. I think we're going to see more of this, to be honest, with the amount of cybercrime about. From SAC to Intune, how Remo 3 can help you on that journey. And then after lunch, we've got cyber threats and endpoints from Jack Hicks. And then introduction to Terraform. So we did a session last year on that, and that's an update to what that was done last year. Then the thinker first for any of the EUC ones is a discussion on AI by James O'Regan, well done, and EUC, especially with what's been happening over the last 3 or 4 days with how many CEOs can OpenAI have and the move to Microsoft. So that should be really good. Adam's talking about flexible load-in towards the end, and then we've got another session, but on MSIX and MSIX app attach. Just this one's much more about what really is it and who is using it, and hopefully that will finish off. We can have then a discussion, a round table where all the presenters, the committee will be up here to answer any questions. We finish off with networking drinks here, and then we're down the Jackalope pub, which we'll tell you about later anyway. So that's the agenda for the day. I'm going to just do the news around the grounds, and then we're going to get to the major vendors. So parallels. Well, Chris Marks really should be here and doing this, but he couldn't make it today. So it's my job to just try and give you an insight into them. You'll get all the slides of these, so I won't sort of try and go through everything. Parallels, of course, they own a Wingo as well, so the mothership owns a Wingo as well. So what they've done is, there's a new version of Parallels been released, 19.3. A lot more features that if you're a Citrix user at the moment, you'll recognize a lot of these terms, and more image management, more auto-scaling. FS Logics, what a great company they were. What an amazing company. It's, if anyone doesn't know, I used to work there. So more integration in there, more AVD native client enhancements, various other things. But the Wingo thing they've renamed, so it's one of the hardest jobs in our industry, trying to remember what the new names are. You know, Citrix were brilliant at it. Every 2 or 3 years, they've changed them all, and hoped that we would keep up with them. But so a Wingo is now Parallels Secure Workspace. If you need any more information, obviously you can reach out to Chris Marks or reach out to the committee, and we'll put you in contact with them. AWS, so a lot's happening there as well. Workspace as core is really interesting. The guys from AWS are here, so I've got to get these right, otherwise I'll be murdered by them. But Workspace as core is very much around the ability to run several of the EUC vendors on their managed infrastructure. So the announcement is for Citrix, VMware, and WorkSpot are already integrated into there. So this is the ability to use your Citrix license, to use your Citrix abilities, but through on an Amazon platform. Make sense? Is that right? Good. Excellent. I do learn. See, I was at session there last week, so I was paying attention. AppStream 2, so multi-session fleets. If you don't know about workspaces, up till now it's been a single session on a server. That's how they work. We're now with the Amazon Workspaces allowing the fleets, so you can have multi-user on a multi-user system. few other pieces, I won't go through them all, you can read them yourself. The really important one for me that is a bit of a game changer is the fact that Microsoft 365 apps is actually now available on workspaces. It's been a bit of a competition to get that. I know there's a lot of pressure to make sure that that's happened. Lots more ability to do graphics as well. Final one from the updates. Please, yet again, feedback. Is there any other EUC vendors that you need on here? You know, we talked about WorkSpot. Don't know if anyone is a WorkSpot user. If there's any others that you think should be on here, please tell us, because then we can get updates accordingly from them. So Frame, Dizion, so that's the biggest debate, I think, is it Frame or is it Dizion? For people who don't know, Frame was spun out of Nutanix in May, June this year. And so Dizion are a very large desktop as a service provider in the States who have obviously moved over to here as well. What they've got is this this desktop as a service market, which is allowing them to use Frame on top of that to deliver their EUC platforms. Interestingly, Frame and Dizion were both in the Gartner DAS Magic Quadrant, so what they're hoping is that the fact that they're both on there at the moment, now that they've merged together, that they'll go even higher in there. Lots of announcements next week, apparently, so it is sort of conference season at the moment, as we've seen with Microsoft and AWS is coming up with reInvent, and so we'll see a lot more announcements ready, hopefully, for the February slot. Right, that's me done. So we now move on to the 4 vendors that we've got updates for. The first one is actually Nathanael, so if you'd like to come up here. You mic'd up? Or? No, because we put it onto you, didn't we, first? So there we go. So, yeah, give it to Tom. That's it. Thank you. And there we have it. So let me introduce Nathanael. Are you a Nat or a Nathanael?
Nathanael, usually.
Nathanael, there you go. Davison. He's Senior Product Manager at Citrix, and he will give you, what's the time now? So he can have till nearly 20 past to do what's in new. So about 5 minutes running behind schedule, but I'm sure we'll catch up.
Great, well, thank you very much. It's first up on the day. Does this make this the keynote? Well, you know, I've only got 15 minutes, so probably not. Yeah, great to be here. I'm Nathanael Davison. I'm a product manager. I'm here as well with Jonathan, who's another product manager. We're based up in Cambridge, and Stephen as well, who's here with the technical marketing team. Do come and say hello. I'm going to quickly run through some of what's new and what's next at Citrix. And actually going to start a bit with the future and what's next. Because as I'm sure you're aware, Citrix has gone through quite a lot of changes over the last couple of years. You mentioned the name changes. I mean, we're now even part of a different company, Cloud Software Group. But Citrix itself has gone through a bit of a course correction in that time and adjusting our focus. And part of what has come out of that is a recognition from the industry that hybrid is everywhere. And that Citrix wants to be able to meet customers where they are. And when we think of hybrid, maybe you think of hybrid work, people working from home, working in the office, and that is, of course, one major aspect and what Citrix has been doing well for decades. But with hybrid, we're talking about so much more than just where people work. We're also talking about what devices they use to work from. Are they using thin clients or laptops, Mac OS, mobile devices? We're thinking about what kind of workloads we're delivering. Is it Windows apps? Is it SaaS apps? Is it Mac apps? Is it other kinds of online web apps? We're thinking about identity providers. I feel like at Citrix, we've been collecting all the different identity providers. We've got AAD and Okta and Ping in there. We have different solutions for different requirements, and so we need hybrid identity providers. There's also hybrid in hosting and management. Are you running your things, your infrastructure on-prem, or are you hosting it in the cloud, or are you using a SaaS offering like we can provide at Citrix? And of course, the networking side of things. You can use the gateway service, there's the NetScaler, there's various combinations of those. And so when we talk about hybrid, we're trying to encompass all of these aspects and say that Citrix is there to meet you wherever you want to end up. Like I say, this is maybe a bit of a course correction for Citrix. For a while, we were really focused on the cloud. But the idea is to be able to meet customers where they're at. And so when it comes to what's next for Citrix, we hope that you'll be able to see some of these things, that this hybrid focus, this anywhere focus coming through in the year to come. And already you'll see it in some of the items I present of what's come out in 2023. But then looking one level deeper, we want to be hybrid at the center of it, but then we're placing these 4 items you see up here as the 4 columns, the 4 pillars of what we use to guide our strategies and our roadmaps in going forward. And of course, the first up there is being inherently zero trust. And again, we kind of want to say that this is what Citrix has been doing before zero trust was a thing. Even though that's the new name for the frameworks and protocols and whatever else libraries that are out there, Citrix HDX, or what used to be called ICA proxy, has always been security focused. But now we're going to be looking to introduce new tools to integrate the security across an entire Citrix environment. Moving below that, the flip side of this hybrid anywhere environment, and of course the flip side of the security aspect as well, is the usability. And so we have up there as a guiding principle that we want next-gen experiences. That means improving the user experience, both for our end users, for the employees, for the consumers of the product, but also for the management, for the IT admins, making that unified across the different platforms that can be used to access, whether that's a mobile device, a Windows 11 PC, a Mac, whatever it is. It's about unifying and modernizing, and continuing to invest in that core HDX protocol, ensuring to deliver top quality results. At the same time, we want it to be simplified and easy to manage. It needs to be resilient. We want to be able to set up IT admins to repeatedly deploy successful infrastructure. And so we're looking to build in more automation and infrastructure, intelligence even in there, to provide reliable and repeatable implementation. So keep an eye out for tools coming out to help with that automation. And again, as I keep saying, that unifying across those hybrid platforms. And then last one, we want the solution, as we deliver core infrastructure, to be both cost optimized and sustainable. That's sustainable for you as a company, but sustainable for the environment as well. We want to be able to demonstrate to the users the value of the solution, both in dollars saved, but also in carbon emissions and savings in that respect. And so, as well as investing in the technology that provides that, we want to provide tooling to help display that value to our customers. And so with that being the goal, we want to say we've got a pretty good starting point. There's a lot to take in on this slide, as I'm sure you're aware, but it's telling the story that we want to tell of any peripherals, any operating systems, any connectivity tools. At its heart is the HDX, the ICA protocol, but using all sorts of identity providers, delivering any kind of app, any kind of hosted app, and any kind of hosted on any kind of platform. This is what Citrix has been doing for decades. And so as I say, the pillars that we're presenting there, they've been running throughout Citrix for years. And I'm sure many of you have been exposed to, have lots of experience with that on Citrix. So that represents where we want to be going and where we've started heading already over the past year. So I'm just going to quickly run through a few of the new features that you may have seen over the past year. So just starting at the top there, a new storefront UI. For a while, Storefront, which is the on-prem delivery console, was in a maintenance mode as we were focusing on moving to cloud. And as a result, the cloud workspace solution, or Storefront Cloud, developed further and was things like delivered a new UI, that modern experience for users. Now we've reawakened Storefront. Jonathan, who's here with me, will be very happy to talk to you more about Storefront, so do pull his ear sometime. And one of the things that we've released earlier this year was a new Storefront UI, controlled by admins of how that is distributed to users, but so that they will have that unified experience across the on-prem and the cloud workspace. Similarly, on that same theme of bringing cloud components down onto the on-prem environment as well, we're looking at we've brought that Web Studio management experience. This is the console for admins to manage their Citrix deployment, the VDAs, the virtual desktops that are set up there, all of the VDI infrastructure. Bring that, so it's available for that on-prem Citrix virtual apps and desktops environment as well to help you set up that and manage your environments in a unified way. And of course, bringing that Web Studio, that on-prem, has unlocked a few other technologies that were managed through that platform. First one up here is WEM, that optimization suite of features that Citrix have, managing the group policy and the login and all those elements from a single place. Now that Web Studio is available on-prem, we've been able to bring that onto the on-prem environment as well. Following along with that is the autoscale. Again, this is part of that sustainability story as well for both your cost savings and for your carbon emissions. Allowing you to dynamically power manage and scale up dynamically as your users log on a Monday morning, but also shutting down overnight in order to optimize your usage. Especially, of course, this is important if you're hosting in the cloud, where you're charged by the minute or by the hour. Being able to scale up and down is, of course, very useful. Especially when that's paired with the autoscale insights, being able to see how best to most effectively to deploy your infrastructure in the cloud. The HDX protocol, that is really the core, the secret sauce of Citrix, is continuing to be improved. We've added support in there for the latest AV1 codec, which has significant improvements on the H.264, H.265 codecs for streaming that video, allowing much higher quality at the same bandwidth, or the same quality at a lower bandwidth, however you want to use that, if you have the compatible hardware, of course. Similarly, including HDX simulcast. Previously, when you have teams, the quality is set by the resources of the lowest of resources of the member of that team's call. This just allows us to optimize out of that, so you're not gated by that lowest participant. And then including EDT lossy on gateway service. This is about the audio and making sure audio stream is lined up with any visuals that come through that. All of this, as you see, is tying into that next-gen user experiences. We want to make sure that protocol that is the real heart of Citrix is modern and up to date. Last one I've just selected to talk about here is just the Azure AD single sign-on. This is relevant for me because one of the products I manage is the federated authentication service, which allows customers to log in when they don't know their own password. If they've authenticated to Storefront or Workspace, they then have a single sign-on experience through to their Windows desktop or Linux desktop. This, in fact, it removes the need for my product for the federated authentication service. Instead, if you have a pure AAD environment, you log on to Storefront or Workspace with your AAD. You then have that single sign-on through to that pure AAD or Entera-joined desktop. All of this, and in that way, we're reducing that infrastructure. You no longer need that extra component, and we're making use of the latest technologies which have been made available to us. Now, that's just actually, I've run through the things there quite quickly there. If you'd like to hear more about those things, please do come and say hello. I'm also interested in hearing your opinions on our analysis of the market out there. That hybrid focus, is that where you see things going? Please do come and speak to me, speak to Jonathan, speak to Stephen. We'd love to hear you, and I'm looking forward to hearing what everyone else has to say as well. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Nathanael. Any questions before he disappears? But obviously, you're here for the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very good. We'll be able to reach out to him if you like today.
Thank you.
All right, Tom. See you.
Yeah.
Excellent. Right, on to the next one. So, I have the pleasure to have Tom Hickling here from Microsoft, and Tom's yet again changes titles all the time. I see him. I think Principal PM for Windows 365 and AVD now. Very good. And so I'll leave Tom to it. You've got 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And
I'll see if I can squeeze it all in.
perfect. Thank you.
So good morning, everyone. Yeah, Tom Hickling from Microsoft. I'm a PM in the combined Windows 365 and AVD teams in Microsoft, as is my colleague Jim Moyle, who's I think everyone knows here. We in fact make up the entirety of the Microsoft EMEA product group, don't we? So we're quite privileged to be in this position. So yeah, for the next, I suppose 13 minutes or so, I'm just going to go through what's new in the combined Windows 365 and AVD areas. So this is actually quite easy because we had Ignite last week where we made lots of announcements. So this is effectively just a very easy recap of everything that we've recently released. So the first of which is this new unified client that we're referring to or naming Windows app. So this is a single user experience across a multitude of platforms that are supported. So, you know, Windows, obviously, Mac OS, iOS, iPads, and obviously the browser. And it's going to effectively replace all of the multiple clients that are out there for remote connectivity. So things like MSTCS, the original AVD client, the Mac OS versions of all of those, the Store app, and combining that all into one single user experience. It's currently in public preview, and there are, unfortunately, a number of bugs in it at this point in time, which we're getting from customer feedback. However, it will replace all of the previous clients with, and the goal is to have zero regression. So everything that you can do in all of the existing clients will be able to be done in this much more user-friendly client. In Windows 365 last week, we introduced GPU SKUs. So at the beginning of November, we actually released a new 16 CPU service plan inside Windows 365. Now, just for reference, Windows 365 is deliberately designed as a SaaS solution, deliberately designed to be as simple as possible to our customers. That's why we have a slightly restricted list of service plans if you were to compare to what's available in AVD. In fact, if you were to compare what's available in Azure, there's over 100 different VM types, but there's obviously a restricted number of those inside of Windows 365, just to make the whole experience as simple as it possibly could be. So we've released, based upon customer demand, 16 vCPU SKUs, as well as last week introducing, still in public preview, 3 GPU SKUs. So obviously we know what GPUs are there for. We have had lots of customers in Windows 365 who wanted to do visualization workloads that have been unable to do that, and obviously this fixes that problem for them. Next along is Azure Virtual Desktop on top of Azure Stack HCI. Now, this preview has been, I think, takes the record for the longest public preview in the whole of Microsoft history, and it's still going. So this is not announcing that it's GA. This is just announcing that with the latest release of Azure Stack 23H2, we've integrated the whole portal experience into AVD. So you can go to the AVD portal now, deploy your host pools onto Azure Stack. So your cluster will appear up in the top here. So exactly the same user experience as if you're deploying into Azure native. Single sign-on. Now, as long as I've been in the product group, this has been the #1 customer ask across the globe. So last week that went generally available. So this is effectively providing single sign-on from the client all the way through into the session, into any applications that are using the same Entra ID, also known as Azure AD, to provide that single sign-on. So it supports all credential types that Azure AD or Entra supports, so things like Windows Hello for Business, FIDO, etc. It's also integrated with any external or third-party IDPs that Entra ID supports. And it also provides that in-session authentication. So if you've got a physical FIDO key, for example, in your device locally, we will redirect the authentication down to the device and seamlessly pass that through up into the session. So there's two policies. That's the Azure Virtual Desktop. It's literally just selecting it in the drop-down. And this is a Windows 365 provisioning policy. This is the admin intent around deployment inside of Windows 365. And it is literally just a tick in a box. So auto-scaling. Now, this auto-scaling for personal desktops has recently, or last week, gone generally available. Auto-scaling has been around for some time, but has been solely in the pooled host pool concept, so multi-session OSs. So we've recently had a public preview, and that's now gone in GA for personal desktops. So this is a single VM per user, obviously. And it enables customers to be able to save cost as much as possible. So if those VMs are powered off, you can keep them off for as long as possible. We have a feature called Start VM on Connect, where the user will launch the session and will start the VM. So that itself has gone generally available. What's still in public preview is the combination of auto-scaling for personal desktops and an Azure feature called Hibernate and Resume. So Hibernate will basically save the state of the virtual machine to the local disk and put it in Hibernate mode. You're still saving exactly the same costs from Azure, so we are no longer charging you for that compute element of the virtual machine. You come along, or you leave the VM off, the user comes along, starts it up, and we resume it. And it takes roughly a minute to get it out of Hibernate mode, as opposed to 3 or 4 minutes if you're starting it fresh. Customer Lockbox. Now, this is another separate Azure feature altogether, and it's basically a security workflow process that enables customers to allow Microsoft support access to an Azure service that they're having problems with. Without this, then no Microsoft personnel from support can ever get access to any of those services. So what this does is it enables Microsoft support people to then go and support Cloud PC or Windows 365. So if a customer has issues, then they can enable this to enable their Microsoft to help them out. Watermarking and screen capture protection went GA last week. So this is the ability to provide, I suppose, a deterrent to data leakage. So with watermarking, we place a QR code on the session. So people are taking photos of the session. Now, it obviously doesn't prevent that, but what's in that QR code is the session ID. So if you're able to retrieve that, then you can obviously track back who that was, when it was, the session, etc. Screen capture protection is a feature that we will turn the session screen black if we detect a snipping tool, like the Windows snipping tool, or screen sharing applications, Teams, Skype, Zoom, whatever it might be. It also supports nested sessions, so you can't get around it by going into a session and then joining another session, etc. So this is all around trying to prevent data leakage, security issues from accidental or malicious sharing of content. Some other things that were recently announced that went GA, the two features you see up at the top there, boot and switch. Now, these two features are really designed to improve the end-to-end user experience. As we're all experts in this, and we know exactly what we're connecting to, which session is where, and all that kind of stuff. But imagine new starters. I'm sure we've all worked in for customers where someone starts on their first day and they're given a Citrix session or a VMware session from a desktop, and they're being asked, go and connect to this desktop, and they're thinking, well, I've got this desktop, but I've got this desktop. For us, it's simple, but for lots of users, it's a confusing thing to have to deal with. So what boot and switch do is designed to improve that user experience. So rather than having a desktop and another desktop and the user having to know which one they're connected to, where's my printer, where's my local drives, etc. What boot does is it effectively turns a Windows 11 device into a thin client, enables you to log in to the device, and you're effectively then directly taken to your Windows 365 session. You sign out of that, and then you're taken back to the local device. that you can't get to the local shell. It's literally just going straight through into that session. So you've effectively gone from this experience of one desktop to another one to just having the one that you're going directly through to it. Windows 365 integrates with the local Windows shell where we display your cloud PC in the task view. So you've now gone from this kind of experience to having one side by side. So it makes it far more user-friendly. It's just where you can click on the task view, there's a keyboard shortcut, there's a four-finger switch on the trackpad or the screen to take you into that session. Windows 365 Frontline, I don't really love the name. The other sort of code name for that was Windows 365 Flex, which is slightly more or descriptive of what it's doing. So what Frontline does is it's just basically a licensing mechanism that enables you to share one license between 3 people at that ratio. So you could have 100 licenses shared by 300 people. So it's effectively people that are working shifts that will then use that license for their duration of the shifts. Another user comes in, uses the same license. So it enables you to save costs for those users that are not necessarily logging in exactly at the same time. And we also released integration with Android. So this feature here is using a Lenovo ThinkPhone, where we've embedded the Windows 365 client into the phone OS. You connect it via USB-C, and then you can connect directly into your cloud PC, connected obviously to a monitor, a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse. Some of the other things that we're currently working on at this point in time is Windows 365 offline mode. So this has been attempted before. Think of things like Zen Client a few years back. Kind of the same kind of experience here, where we sync your cloud PC with your local device. It detects when you go offline mode. There's no need to check in or check out, but we keep the two in sync. When you're reconnected, we will then obviously update the Windows 365 cloud PC in Azure. So no dates around this at this point in time. There's quite a lot of hard development that needs to be done to get that across the line. So we're probably looking at a year out before we see anything in this regard. The other thing that's going to be starting public preview soon is this AI-enabled recommendation service for Cloud PC. So this will be detecting things like undersized VMs, oversized VMs, underutilized VMs, enabling the admin to resize those virtual machines on behalf of the user. So you can be able to scale up, scale down, or retrieve licenses and assign those licenses to other users. Now, as you can imagine, this area is getting an incredible amount of development. So we're going to see massive improvements in Copilot, let's say, for Windows 365, where we're going to be providing a whole load of insights, because obviously we know the platform that this is running on. It's purely Azure. We obviously know something about Windows. That's the operating system we've had around for 38 years. And we know the service that's doing all of the orchestration that connects you through to those virtual machines. So there's a whole load of insights from our telemetry that we can harness to try to improve the user experience on behalf of our customers. And just to look what that looks like, here's an example of the recommendations or the detections that we've made. So the final thing, that's my last slide. Sorry, James. Yep.
You said it's recommendations. Will
Yep.
it get to the stage where it will automatically do it, or?
Yes, so that's the intention. So what will have to happen is the admin will have to say, okay, I want to utilize this, and I'm going to auto-enable it, such that when it makes a recommendation, it's automated. Yeah.
Yeah, but there is a human interaction to.
At this point in time, yes. Yeah. So the final thing I was just going to say is everything that we do as a product group for Windows 365 and AVD is not a science project. It's based upon customer feedback. And we've got a small team in Microsoft who are effectively compensated on customer feedback, the quality of it, and how that feedback turns into product. So I suppose what I'm saying is everything that needs to happen comes back from customer feedback. So any feedback that you've got, feel free to share it with myself, share it with Jim, share it through the feedback apps in Windows. We are very, very keen to hear positive feedback, if there is any, but more so negative feedback to make the products better. So thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tom, for that. That was brilliant to get that. So we've got our next session. We actually have two people to talk this time, which is great. And I feel a bit crowded out here now. So we've got Spencer Pitts and Kristian Vidal to talk around what's new in VMware. And I will let them introduce it. It's far better than me trying to introduce people and get it wrong.
It's great to see you guys. It's been unheard of a year ago.
This is what it's about, is actually getting all of the vendors here. Just one final thing before we think. There was supposed to be a slide thanking all the sponsors here, but I didn't see that come up. So please go and see the sponsors at every break and everything. They're the ones who allow this to be done for free, and they invest a lot of their time and effort as well as the money to do this. So please go and see them, see what they've got. They add the value to what these providers do. Thank you.
Good. Thanks, Nige. Morning, everyone. I hope you're all well. So my name's Kristian Vidal. I head up the solution engineers in VMware. And with me is Spencer Pitts, who's our CTO for EMEA. So today we just wanted to come in and obviously give you an update on VMware. Obviously, it's a 2-for-1 this morning. So I'm going to be very brief, and then Spencer will go through a lot of the details. We don't need disclaimers. So for VMware, you may or may not remember last year, we launched what we call our vision, the autonomous workspace. And the autonomous workspace is really about sort of 3 key areas, which is self-configuring, self-healing, and self-securing. And within those, there's different target areas we're trying to do within the workspace for the user and obviously for IT as well. So in terms of self-configuring, we send out a steady state desktop to our users or a device, and that really is about maintaining that as a steady state. So if there's changes that are happening within the workspace, we will return it to that steady state automatically. So a great example that I can apply to myself within VMware is every time I add the Sonos app to my Mac, within a day or so it's removed, okay, which is a little bit annoying. Self-healing is fundamentally about ensuring that when the user comes across issues, be it, we have driver crashes, application issues, we're able to use analytics, data science to pick up on the reasons for that. So we can either go to root cause analysis and make suggestions to IT about what that may be, and it could be we could pick up in a targeted set of devices that there is a bad device driver that's been sent out, and different parts and workflow suggestions to remediate that, okay? Same with applications. And self-securing is really about addressing where, obviously, when COVID happened and moving to hybrid remote working, that security perimeter changed for us. Okay, so it went from being around the data center in the office to actually the perimeter is now extended out to around the user. So continuously validating the user, continuously validating their context, and ensuring that they have access to the right applications, data, and revoking that as and when needed. In terms of applying that to what we do today or what we have done in the past, so what we're really demonstrating is, from a traditional perspective, all of us that have been out there, that it's always been quite a manual or reactive process in managing the workspace, okay? Whether it's a physical device or whether it's a virtual app or a virtual desktop. So we're reacting to an incident, or we're having to update a policy. Shifting to an autonomous workspace, the idea is actually we're automating that. We're using a hell of a lot of intelligence, data science, to ensure we're either automatically returning the workspace back to the state desired or self-healing, or we're using the analysis to make recommended suggestions, root cause analysis to IT to go out to fix that, okay? So last slide from me, then I'll hand over to Spencer. So what that really condenses down to in what our solution is today. So our solution, first of all, focuses on outcomes. Okay, so those 3 outcomes we look at for our customers are employee experience. We are all talking about employee experience decks today. It's more key than ever. particularly when we have such a range of workers we have to enable and allow to work, from frontline workers to office-based workers to home-based workers. Everyone's moving around. Security is a key fundamental of that outcome as well. And then obviously IT modernization needs to happen to support a lot of this. So our platform really delivers in sort of 3 tranches in terms of virtual apps and desktops, unified endpoint management, and digital employee experience as well. So they're sort of the 3 pillars we have. And as a platform, we underpin that. So within that platform area, we're using things like security, intelligence, analytics, automation. So actually, along those 3 tranches, we can give a consistent experience to both IT, in terms of using a single integrated tool set, and also for the user to give them a single consistent experience across any device workspace. So what I'm going to do now is hand over to Spencer, and he's going to come up with some interesting updates.
Well, I hope so. Hi, everyone. And yeah, Echo, thank you for having us. Probably 2-3 years ago, we probably weren't the first name on the sheet, given the organisation we represent, but thanks, and good to see everybody. So as Kristian said, I'm the Chief Technologist for End User Computing for VMware. Been here 16 years, kind of semantic before that. Let's not go there, given what's going on. And don't ask me about that either, if you know what I mean, because I may tell you the truth over a beer. Anyway, that moving on. Right, so what's new? A bit like Tom, to be fair. We had a big conference, you may have heard of it, called Explore 2 weeks ago. So a lot of what I got here is just sort of a recap of that. There's a lot of other material we can point you to afterwards as well. I'll try to keep it really, really quick. I'll start off with UEM. Some big things up there. I won't pick up everything there, but I'll drill in a couple of things. Mac's getting a real focus. So for those who don't know, UEM is our unified endpoint management tool. So we can manage Linux, Android, iOS, Windows, Mac. Mac's probably been a little bit unloved. Now we're kind of bringing it up to feature parity with Windows. Things like baselines, which is importing configuration sets, making sure that your base build is ready, set to the configuration you want. Talked about Intro ID actually with Tom, so that's going to be supported now as well. Declarative management is a big thing on Mac. Everyone's been talking about that, so that's going to be coming very, very soon. I think the private beta will be very soon for that. There are quite a few private beta announcements. Feel free to take a picture of that if you want, and we'll send the slides. The big one, of course, I say the big one for us, is the integration. Anybody been using Intel vPro stuff? No? Most people turn it off. It's kind of what I see. Get the machine, don't do anything with it. You used to have to use something called Emma. Anybody know Emma? Don't know if there's somebody called Emma in the audience. Sorry, it's not you. But basically, it's the enterprise management architecture. So kind of like a load of servers you used to deploy. And the idea was you could do some remote management below the OS. So you could do firmware updates, TPM chip enablement, BIOS updates, all of that stuff. You could also do a remote control as well. So we teamed up with Intel probably about 9 months ago, and we did some integration with Emma. The next thing that we've done is completely remove the need for Emma. So there's a direct integration directly from VMware, chip to cloud, they called it. And in fact, what it is just literally you can enable some of the Intel vPro directly from UEM. However, the next thing that we're doing as well is we're tapping into some of the vulnerability and insights, because Intel's got a massive data lake of vulnerability from a driver level. So the kind of things we can do now is actually sort of understand what's going on below the OS. So the idea then is you get a complete chip all the way through operating system sort of view. And that's going to form the part of what we're doing around baselines and also vulnerability assessment. So one of the slight changes in the sort of messaging is UEM is going to be more integrated with security. We used to have them as separate sort of pillars, and we had a big thing on zero trust, which we still do to a degree, but VMware has an even bigger VMware, sort of zero trust story, I would say. So what we're now doing is saying security is very much linked to UEM, very much linked to the management of devices. And to that point, what do EUC people normally do? Their job is to keep things patched, compliant, up to date. So this will give them a very good understanding about, is my estate compliant? Is it ready? Has it got the latest patch, firmware revisions, whatever? So the idea is to give a really quick view across all device types, iOS, Android, etc., right? So a lot of more info coming up on that one, but I think that's quite interesting. So that's a real quick on UEM. VDI-wise, quite a few things that we've announced. I'm not going to go through every single one, but the big one was Apps Everywhere announcement. Did anybody hear anything about Apps Everywhere? Anybody know app volumes? Okay. We don't talk about 2.x, by the way, but just saying. There's a new version, some laughs, clearly people that have used that. But anyway, so we've moved on a lot since then, and one of the things we're doing now, Apps Everywhere, is a concept that sort of similar to the hybrid messaging you heard earlier. You should be able to use app volumes wherever it's on AVD or wherever it's on, you'll see in a minute, AppStream as well, or even on Horizon. We don't really care. It's a packaging technology, but it's also a delivery technology as well. So the idea here is that whatever your flavor, hyperscaler or broker, DAS solution, it doesn't really matter. You can package these applications. I think you're going to hear some more stuff later on around MSIX and some of the formats we support, but you should be able to get this up and running really quickly. And we announced straight away you can go in there and do a trial. I think it's available directly through, and one of my colleagues just walked in, and if I get this wrong, he's going to go, no, it's like this. But you can go in, you can set up a trial really quickly from the marketplace, and similarly from AWS as well, marketplace. Here's a quick video just showing somebody setting up an app volumes package here, setting it as default, and then effectively they'll go in and launch it, whether that's on AVD or whether it's directly from AppStream. So the idea here is we support both. There's no Horizon involved here, there's no broker. You saw the Horizon console, but all that really was for setting up the applications. But the idea here is it doesn't really matter, then you can use it across all formats. Which is quite different for us, right? Because the world is always VMware, traditionally. But it's more of an appreciation that the world might not be VMware. Not to be linked at all with what I said earlier about what's going on at the moment, just to make that clear. But I think it's good to have some choice. So some other things that we announced. In-guest monitoring. So if anybody's using ARIA, we've got a lot of VDI ops guys that using ARIA, was VROps, so some of the infrastructure monitoring type tools. We're going to be extending that and actually doing in-guest monitoring. You'll hear a lot about what we're doing with DEX as well. Cloud XR, NVIDIA support. Anybody come across that? Anybody know anything about that? So if you've got headsets, they're not really powerful to be fair, but if you're doing any kind of visualization, design work, put your VR glasses on, what you can do is have a Horizon desktop, and you can have Cloud XR, which is a protocol specific to NVIDIA, it's kind of LAN specific. It allows you to stream directly high-end graphics from a PC or well, in this case, a Horizon desktop directly into the to VR headset. So it's really for high-end graphical use cases. We actually demoed that live on stage at Explore, and there's some videos available with that. Public preview of Horizon with Win365. So if you haven't seen that before, that's now, well, I think GA is very, very soon, but you can go in there and do a public or sign up for that. Alibaba, probably not relevant right now, but maybe relevant given what I said earlier as well. China, that's all we're going to say. Right, so another thing we announced, I think this is quite cool, is the ability to spin up a DR site on demand. So you can go in now and you can say specify. I don't know if you know, but in Horizon you can have what we call our universal broker. And really what it does is it points directly to one location or the other according to where your desktops live. Here it's just a quick example of how you can set up a DR site. And then basically if there's a problem, you can simulate if there's a network outage. So somebody's using this, there's an outage. And then you can, using our DEX, you can send automatically a workflow to a device, in this case a watch. And then you can say up the top there, you saw that, initiate failover. So all of those broker sessions will be pointed directly to your DR site. So it's kind of, again, in that hybrid form, but the idea here is you can just directly point over, users reconnect, and they're now working again. So there's a lot more on that, just checking, got about 2 minutes, okay. So, DEX, I thought I'd finish off just with another video here. There are loads of slides on this, but I thought it might be easy to do this. Hopefully that's playing, is that playing? This is a bit where I click again. No, it is playing, there we go. Just wanted to check. Right, so users working away, blue screen. Very slow blue screen, apparently. Right, and so Hub. Hub is where you actually, as users, connect in, get desktops, launch applications, but you can also send notifications to it. So in this example, what's happened is the user had a blue screen. They got a message saying you can go and connect to a virtual desktop whilst you're waiting for your blue screen to be fixed. We can also, at the back end, send a message automatically, so it's using some of the things that Kristian talked about, directly to the admin, so they can go away and go and find out what the problem is. At the back end, what's going to happen here is they're going to find out what the root cause is. I'm not sure why it's sticking directly on this slide for a second, but they're going to switch over to the console. And what's interesting here is we can start to delve into what are the root causes. Why did this happen? what's going on. So in the DEX platform is telemetry coming in across all of the VDI devices, through the network, applications in some cases, fed directly into our intelligence platform. Then we're able to understand what's going on as part of it. And then you can go and take some corrective action. So in this case, we're going to correlate where the device crashes were. And what should happen is the IT person says, okay, at this particular time, we rolled out something, and there was a load of crashes, and the crashes went up. Why is that? Okay, well, let's go and understand, and using AI, because we've got to get AI in there at some point, we can understand what's going on because we've got access to all of this telemetry. It looks like there was some kind of device driver. What do we want to do about that? Let's create an automation workflow directly to go on update or roll back the driver, and then hopefully that will fix that, right? So that's the idea, is to take everything in, understand what's going on, and ultimately affect what the end user's experience is. And you can see here we can correlate some of the things that were going on. The driver update happened at the same time. The crashes were very similar. Okay, what do we want to do about it? Let's make that correction. So all of that is where we want to go. That's a really quick idea of what DEX is. It's about the user experience, but it's also at the back end from the people that are managing it. There's a lot more detail to that, but I just thought it was easy just to show you a quick demo on a video here around what that could look like. So it's a real quick snapshot of what's going on here, and just a quick sort of summary here. The only other thing I think was quite useful to understand was persistent desktop with app volumes. I think that's particularly interesting. So I did a session at Explore around developer desktops. Anybody who's done VDI knows that giving users admin access is just the worst thing ever, but it's always developers. And there's a whole story around what's going on with persistent desktops. You give them a persistent desktop, but then it's a pain to manage. How do you deliver the apps? Now we've got a load of capability around app volumes for persistent desktops, which I think changes things. So a lot to take in. I know. If you want any more information, come and grab us at the break. Thanks again for having us, and I think we're done, all right? So thanks, everyone.